The History of Radio, Part 1. A Century of Radio. This is the first post in a three-part blog series that briefly examines the history of radio, from its inception in the early 19th century to its powerful impact as the analogue and digital force it is today. Without doubt, radio is one of the most significant technological advances in the last 100 years, from its early beginnings in the 1800s to the streaming radio capabilities that have come to prominence in more recent days. Radio has aided in providing communication, as well as information and entertainment to listeners across the globe. I'd like to say it started out from humble beginnings, but while the device itself was rudimentary, especially in comparison to the radio technology we have today and even in earlier decades, the concept of radio itself took the world by storm. It was, undeniably, the largest platform for news and entertainment that required people to take part and engage with it immediately. While newspapers could serve the same function to a certain extent, there was a lapse of time between publication and the consumption of the information from the reader. Radio served as a direct, almost instantaneous tool to reach the masses. Coupled with the intimacy of the human voice and the wonder that this level of scientific advancement at the time brought to listeners. Once radio started to become widespread, families would sit together listening to it as an active exercise, in the same way that some still do with a television, except that it would require more thought, more consciousness. This all started on November 2nd, 1920, approximately 15 years after the Italian inventor Guglielmo Marconi was granted the first radio patent. KDKA was the first ever commercial radio station in the US and went on air in Pittsburgh. The broadcast consisted mostly of sports talk, opinion and music. That is, until the radio engineer ran out of records and struck up a deal with a local record store to supply music in exchange for on-air promotions. Many consider this the birth of radio advertising, which hundreds of organisations quickly caught on to, and by the mid-1920s the airwaves were inundated with companies trying to get their piece of the radio pie, such as Avanche, who sold an easy and speedy hairdo that will blow your men away. Of course, this would mean that radio bosses and larger organisations had also found a new avenue for reaching the masses, ready to spread their own ideology in between popular jazz and catchy music of dance bands. And slowly, as the medium grew, so militant organisations started to explore its uses, which is how radio came to be a tool in war, a subject we'll explore in the next part of this series. Thanks for listening.